Okay, so this week we're taking a deep dive into the future of customer service. And, we hear a lot about AI these days, but this is one area where it feels like things could be about to change in a really big way.
Yeah, for years, people have been talking about how AI is going to revolutionize customer service, but it always felt kind of like a distant promise, like something that might happen eventually, but not anytime soon.
Totally. It always felt a bit like science fiction more than anything else.
Exactly. But the thing is, OpenAI just had their big developer conference, Dev Day. And while there weren't any like splashy new models or anything like that, they did make some announcements that have huge implications for how we're going to be experiencing customer service very soon.
Okay, so what's the big news? What should people be paying attention to?
Real-time AI is finally here. And I'm not talking about those like clunky chatbots that we're all used to dealing with. The ones that feel like you're talking to a slightly smarter toaster. We're talking about actual, almost instantaneous responses, natural sounding conversations, a level of personalization that just wasn't possible before.
Wait, so you're saying those like frustrating delays, the whole like robotic kind of stilted interactions, those are going to be a thing of the past?
That's the promise. And OpenAI is putting their money where their mouth is. They just released this new thing called the real-time API, which is basically a way for developers to build applications that can use the power of their AI models in real time. It's like this. You could be having an actual conversation with an AI customer service agent within the year, and it would feel like you're talking to a real person.
Okay, now you're just messing with me. So you're
Yeah.
saying those old sci-fi movies where people are just casually chatting with computers, it's like becoming a reality?
Yeah, in a way it is. It's like we're stepping into the future and OpenAI is handing us the keys.
So how does this real-time API actually work? What makes it so different from what we've seen before?
Think about those old automated systems for a second. Like you'd speak, your voice would be recorded, then it would be transcribed, sent off to some AI somewhere, it would process it, send back some text, and then that would get synthesized into speech. It was such a clunky, multi-step process. It never felt natural at all.
Ugh. Yeah, it's like trying to have a conversation through one of those like old-fashioned tin can telephones.
The perfect analogy. But with OpenAI's real-time API, it's a total game changer. They're using a persistent connection, which basically means the AI is always listening and responding in real time. No more back and forth, no more waiting for the system to catch up.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
But how does this AI actually understand what we're saying?
Uh,
I mean, is it just spitting out canned responses, or can it actually hold a real conversation?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the answer is it's complicated. These AI models are trained on massive amounts of data, which allows them to understand and respond to a huge range of prompts and questions.
So they're not perfect.
Exactly. They can still make mistakes, misinterpret things, and even sometimes sound a bit robotic.
So not quite sentient AI just yet.
Not quite. But it's a huge step in that direction. And the technology is still in its early stages. It's only going to get better, more nuanced, more human-like as it learns and evolves.
I don't know about you, but that's both exciting and a little bit terrifying at the same time.
Totally agree. It's like we're standing at the edge of this whole new world and we're not quite sure what we'll find there. But I can say this. Customer service is about to get a whole lot more interesting.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. Can you give me an example of how this real-time API could actually work in a real customer service situation?
Imagine you're planning a trip, let's say, to London. You need to book a hotel, and you could spend hours online browsing different websites comparing prices. Or you could just open up your favorite travel app and start talking to an AI assistant. You tell it your dates, your budget, what neighborhood you want to stay in. Maybe you even have some special requests like, I need a hotel that's pet-friendly, or I want a room with a view. And the AI will search through thousands of options and present you with the perfect hotel in real time.
So no more endless scrolling or clicking through tons of different tabs. It's like having a personal travel agent available 24/7.
Exactly. And it gets even better. Let's say your plans change. You decide to extend your trip or explore a different part of the city.
Hmm.
With this real-time API, you can make those changes on the fly, and the AI will instantly adjust its recommendations.
So it's not just about speed, it's about flexibility and personalization as well.
Exactly. It's about creating a truly seamless and intuitive experience that adapts to your needs and preferences. That's the real power of this technology.
Okay, I'm sold. But this technology isn't just going to impact consumers. It's going to have a huge impact on businesses as well.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for the companies that are actually going to be using this technology?
That's a great question, and it's one we're going to dive deeper into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll be exploring the potential benefits for businesses, the challenges they'll face, and the ethical considerations they need to be thinking about as they move into this new era of AI-powered customer service. So yeah, we were talking about how this new technology from OpenAI is going to change things for businesses.
Yeah, like how much is this going to cost? I mean, it sounds amazing, but like if it's only for the big guys, then it doesn't really level the playing field, does it?
That's a really good point, and it's something that OpenAI seems to be very aware of. Remember we were talking about those developer-focused announcements like prompt caching and model distillation?
Vaguely, yeah. Remind me what those were all about.
Right. So basically, these features are designed to make it cheaper and easier for businesses to use this technology. Prompt caching, for example, it lets developers kind of save frequently used prompts so the AI doesn't have to process them every single time.
Also, it's like storing information locally so it doesn't have to be retrieved remotely every time. Got it.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference, especially for companies that have to deal with tons of customer interactions every day. And then you have model distillation, which is a little bit more on the technical side, but basically it allows developers to take those really big, powerful AI models that OpenAI has and use them to improve the performance of smaller, more efficient models.
So is that getting the benefits of like a supercomputer on a laptop or something?
Exactly. And that's huge for smaller businesses that don't have the resources to build and train their own AI models from scratch.
Yeah, it's like OpenAI is kind of giving everyone the keys to the kingdom here.
Right. It's about democratizing access to this technology, which could be really transformative for the whole customer service industry. And it's not just about cost and accessibility either. OpenAI is also giving developers more control over how they can customize these AI models. Like with visual fine-tuning, you can actually train the AI on images as well as text.
Yeah, that's the one that really caught my attention. I mean, think of it. You could just show an AI assistant a picture of a broken product instead of trying to describe it over the phone or through a chat.
Right. Or imagine using AI to analyze customer sentiment based on their facial expressions during a video call. The possibilities are kind of mind-blowing when you start thinking about it.
Okay, I'm convinced this technology is going to be huge. But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the people who actually work in customer service. What happens to them as AI starts to take over more of these roles?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that we need to be thinking about very carefully.
So no easy answers then.
No, not really. But the first thing to remember is that this isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to be a gradual transition, which will give businesses and workers time to adapt.
So it's not like we're all going to wake up tomorrow and find robots answering the phones at our local pizza place.
Exactly. And while some jobs will definitely be automated, especially those that are very repetitive or rule-based, this shift is also going to create new opportunities for different kinds of roles and responsibilities.
It's more about humans and AI working together than robots taking over the world right now.
Precisely. And I think augmentation is a better word than replacement here. Imagine a future where AI handles those initial customer interactions, like answering basic questions, routing calls, even resolving simple issues like password resets. That frees up human agents to focus on those more complex, nuanced interactions that require things like empathy and critical thinking.
So the human agents become like customer service superheroes, swooping in to save the day when the AI hits a wall.
That's a great way to put it. It's about playing to each other's strengths. AI excels at speed efficiency, handling huge amounts of data, whereas humans bring empathy, creativity, and that ability to navigate those gray areas that trip up even the most advanced AI.
Yeah, it makes sense. But this shift is going to require some serious retraining and upskilling for a lot of customer service representatives, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's something that businesses, governments, educational institutions all need to be thinking about. We need to be investing in programs that give workers the skills they'll need to thrive in this new landscape.
So it's not just about building better AI. It's about building a better future for everyone where technology helps us instead of replacing us.
Well said, and that's a future worth striving for, one where customer service is faster, more efficient, and dare I say, more human than ever before.
No, I love it. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to talk about, the ethical implications of all of this. And that's a conversation we'll have in the next part of our deep dive. So we've spent the last two episodes talking about AI and customer service, and wow, there's a lot to unpack, right? We've talked about real-time AI and how it's going to change things for businesses, but we haven't really talked about the ethical side of things. Like, what happens when AI gets really good at mimicking human interaction?
Yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right?
Right.
We get excited about the possibilities, but we also have to think about the potential downsides. Like any technology, it can be used for good or for bad.
So let's talk about the potential downsides.
Yeah.
What are some of the things we should be concerned about?
Well, one of the big ones is deception.
Deception. You mean like being tricked into thinking you're talking to a real person when it's actually an AI?
Exactly. As AI gets more sophisticated, it's going to be harder and harder to tell the difference. And that raises some really important questions about transparency and trust.
Right. Like if I think I'm talking to a human, I might reveal information or do things that I wouldn't otherwise.
That's it. And that's why it's so crucial to establish some ground rules, some ethical guidelines for how AI is used in customer service. People have a right to know who or what they're interacting with.
Totally agree. So transparency is key. What else should we be thinking about?
Bias. AI models are trained on massive amounts of data, and that data can reflect the biases of the people who created it.
So if the data is flawed, the AI will be flawed too.
Exactly. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind as we're developing these systems. We need to make sure that AI is being used to create a more equitable world, not to perpetuate existing inequalities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? How do we make sure that AI is used for good?
It's a tough question, and there's no easy answer. But I think it starts with having these conversations, raising awareness, and being willing to ask tough questions. We need to be proactive and thoughtful about how we're developing and deploying this technology.
I love that. So it's not just about the tech itself.
Yeah.
It's about how we use it.
Exactly. It's about shaping the future we want to see.
Well said. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive?
I think it's an exciting time to be alive. We're on the cusp of some really incredible breakthroughs, but we also need to be cautious and make sure that we're using this technology in a way that benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Ah.
This has been a fascinating conversation, and I hope our listeners are as excited about the future of customer service as we are. Until next time, thanks for listening.